Okay, welcome everybody. In preparation for this week's game, going to Waco on Saturday to play number 2 team in the country, Baylor. We're pretty familiar with who they are, who their personnel is, what their philosophies are, going up against these guys for the 4 years in a row. It's not a whole lot different than what it's been, to be quite frank. It seems like they're in a position with their program. I think Art's been there for 8-9 years now. Done a good job of building that place up to where they're recruiting at a very high level, and they're getting good players. They're getting really good players. They're doing a good job of developing them as well. Everything with them kind of starts offensively, just knowing Art in the past, and with him being an offensive guy, it's the same stuff as it's been, probably. With some a few more experienced guys and a few more talented guys. I hate to say that they got more talented guys when they've put about 4 or 5 receivers and several quarterbacks in the league the last few years, but it's about as deep as a team as I've seen, especially offensively. So, the quarterback's a big kid. He's a junior. He's been there for 3 years, understands the offense, knows what to do. Is mobile for how big he is, and can throw, make any throw that he needs to. Their whole offense starts with the run game, and you got to have a quarterback that understands that, and they do. They got 3 great backs. Everybody wants to talk about Shock Linwood, but the other 2 are pretty good as well. So they keep rotating backs in there. That's a pretty difficult position to have one guy that can just carry the load. Especially when you're running the ball 66% of the time, which is about what they're doing. But got a bunch of big old linemen. All their guys are back, 4 or 5 seniors if you count the big tight end, and a junior as well. All those guys played, got good experience, know what to do. And they're going to try to pound you. They're going to make you put more people in the box to where you gotta stop the run. And then when that happens, they look for one-on-one matchups with what's probably the deepest receiving core in the country, maybe in several decades. If they keep improving, maybe ever. So they got just a lot of guys that can make plays downfield. Will be a challenge, there's no question. Defensively is where they've probably made more strides than anywhere. In the 4 years that we've played them, they've got to a point where they're shutting some people down. Their numbers are better than they've been. They got 8 starters back, 9 starters back from last year's team. They got a big, physical, dominating defensive line led by probably one of the best players in college football, in Andrew Billings. The nose tackle's a really good player. Got the same 2 corners that we went against last year, and the same 2 safeties, and one of the 2 linebackers is back as well. So it's all the same stuff, same guys. Phil Bennett's been there with Art the entire time, quality defensive coordinator. Quality football coach, quality guy, and they've been getting better each and every week. So overall, going to be a tough task. We all understand that. Same position we were basically in last year. We're going to line up. We're going to play ball, and looking forward to going to Waco to do that. So with that, we'll take some questions.
Dana, you obviously can't beat them with the mistakes, turnovers, penalties you've had the last couple weeks, but how do you get rid of that?
We lost the turnover battle 3-0 last year and committed 14 penalties. And still won. So I don't know how I explain that to my team. That's kind of obviously an ironic situation what happened last year, but I've never seen anything like that stat line. If you go back and look at Oklahoma State this year compared to Oklahoma State last year, there wasn't a whole lot of difference other than the fact that we turned it over 3 times as opposed to turned it over 0. 2 years ago, Oklahoma State, we didn't commit a turnover. We didn't put our defense in bad situations. We didn't give them points. This year, if the 3 fumbles didn't happen in the first half, it's probably 9-7 us going in at halftime. So it's a big deal. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, we're going to keep working on it. We're going to keep stressing to the guys with ball security. We're going to coach them hard. We're going to work the drills. And I can assure you that we've made them understand that loses football games.
Can you blitz Baylor like you did last year? That was a pretty successful part of your upset win last year.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to. I mean you got to do what you got to do to get there. If you just rush 3, then their O-line will give that guy 20 seconds to throw the ball. So you got to do whatever you got to do to get pressure. I mean they're big and physical up front. They're going to protect with the tight end and the back at times as well. So you got to bring people there. And if you look at what they're doing defensively, I don't think it's a coincidence that that's what they do defensively too. You know, so they'll bring 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'll try to outnumber you to get there. I mean, it's just what their overall philosophy of football is. They're going to try to, bring one more than you can block on defense, and then offensively they're going to try to get you to do that same very thing. And when that happens, it's about one-on-one matchups with a lot of skill to see what happens. Both us and them are going to both try to establish the run, but it's going to come down to what kind of pressure, happens defensively and how the offenses handle it.
Coach, when you watch Seth Russell play, what challenges is trying to stop him bring as compared to Bryce Petty the last couple of years?
Not a whole lot different. It's not a whole lot different. They're both big. They're both physical. They're both smart. Both got live arms. Seth's probably a better runner. When he gets out, he can hurt you with his feet. But it's the same. They got another one behind him. The kid from Stephenville, when he comes in there and plays half the game, he looks like the same type guy, 6'3", 220, live arm, big kid, pretty athletic and mobile. They're finding those guys somewhere. That'd be the state of Texas too, by the way.
Do you envision William Crest kind of playing the same role moving forward, or is that more of a one-game type deal?
We've done certain things with him. He's got to commit to it, which he did last week. We'll see how he does in practice today. He got banged up. It's the downside to it. If you take a guy that you're trying to continue to develop as a quarterback, playing those snaps, understanding offense, understanding football is good for him. But you're going to get him tackled and hit as well. So he took some shots. We'll see how he is today, and we'll see what he can do.
Along the same lines, is Thomas Williams and Marcellus close, or where are they at right now?
They haven't played much.
Where is Crest's development as a quarterback?
Redshirt freshman, is taking reps and, needs to continue to understand what I'm wanting him to do with the ball, where I want him to put his eyes, making the appropriate checks in the run game. There's some certain things that number 3 does that nobody sees that allows us to be able to get to a point where we're rushing for 200 and some plus yards a game. He needs to keep, William, just keep understanding offensive football. Keep putting his eyes and his feet where they need to and throw accurate balls. Skyler's the same way when it comes to that. I mean, he's doing a great job in the run game. The pass game, we're struggling. And that's a combination of a couple weeks ago, it was the offensive line I thought was not carrying their weight. They made a bunch of improvements. Our protection was better. We got better up front in the pass protection. Then there's the element of having 3, 4 new receivers, young guys that need to run the appropriate routes and be in the appropriate spots and make the appropriate plays, timing. And then the quarterback needs to settle down. He needs to settle his feet, and he needs to put his eyes where I want him to, and he needs to throw accurate balls. I think we took a step back in that department last week.
Dana, the game within the game. Last year you held them down to the lowest offensive totals they had. You're obviously tempted to try to do the same things, yet they're going to make adjustments. How do you handle that? I mean, do you make adjustments even before you see what they do, or?
We stay up all night and watch film and don't sleep and panic and all that. I mean, we know what they're going to do, so it's the wonderful world of college football. You know, life in the Big 12. We're going to prepare our guys with a game plan. We're going to practice it today and tomorrow and Thursday and fly on Friday and wake up early Saturday and go line up and play ball and have fun doing it.
Dana, it's pretty apparent that Skyler cares a lot, and after that loss the other night, he took it hard. And I don't know that a loss in week 5 should be treated differently than a loss week 12 or something like that. But you kind of have to counsel him more, or is it okay that he hurt so much after that?
Yes and no. You know, I mean, it's obviously good, but, you know, we got to play better too. You know, it hurt me a good bit too. You know, that nobody was more disappointed for our 62,000 fans than I was. I mean, the place was electric. It was live. It was homecoming. You know, the fans hung in there when we were stinking it up in the first half and came out and gave them a reason to be excited, and then didn't finish the game in overtime. I mean, it's a tough deal. But you know, with that said, I mean, we can't feel sorry for ourselves, and we can't expect anybody to as well. So back to work and line up and play. And then that's my job when it comes to our quarterbacks, is getting those guys' heads clear and coaching them hard, getting out there and working and teaching them the game plan and lining up and having another opportunity to go play. That's what we're paid to do.
Dan, is there anything, and I know there's lots of factors, like you said, the offensive line, the young receivers, but is there anything with Skyler's composure that can be coached up, like any composure, things that translate to, I don't know, happy feet or anything like that?
Yeah, he rushed things all game, and he did against Oklahoma, and again, I had a reason for that. I don't know what the reason was this week. You know, it was disappointing to see, but again, he's competitive. He cares. He does good things in the run game. You know, he's done what we've asked him to do in the past. He's got to do that all the time. And you know, if you can't do it all the time, then we got to find somebody that can. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So that's what we've worked on, and we watched the film and you know, said this isn't what it needs to look like, and we got to get out there and we got to practice it. There's things you can do in practice that simulate that we will force him to put his eyes where they need to be, settle the feet, and throw the ball accurately. It's got to go from point A to point B. That's on him. But we'll coach his technique up, and you know, and then the same aspect of it, O-line, receivers, all that, it all plays into it. You know, watching last year's video when we're preparing for these teams, the rapport that Clint and Kevin had, I mean, that doesn't exist right now. So we got to keep working hard until that develops somehow, some way.
Dana, what kind of healthy Wendell Smollett do to help with all that? You know,
Still banged up. He's still banged up. I mean, kid didn't practice a snap last week. He plays his butt off. You know, he didn't practice at all. He's cramping up during the game, but he's going to get out there and do what he can do. And you know, we practiced last night. He was out there limping around again, so we'll see what he can do today.
Dana, with regard to your receivers, is it anything that they can actually do, or is it one of those things that it's just a product of time and the familiarity with?
There's no switch with that. I mean, there's some decent things that exist with Skyler and DeKeel from the intermediate routes. Some decent things that exist with Skyler and Shelton downfield. You know, the rest of it is just not where it needs to be successful at this point. So we got to keep working on it. We'll go out and we got to run a bunch of routes and throw a bunch of balls and get the timing. I said this in camp. You know, I don't know when it's gonna click. It hasn't yet. We need to keep working on it.
When you say Skyler's eyes in the right place, is he missing things that are there because he is hurrying, or just not aware of some stuff?
His reads, I mean, his clock's ticking a little quicker than it needs to be right now. So he just needs to slow down. He needs to trust where people are going to be at. He needs to see if that's the appropriate thing and throw it or don't throw it.
Danny, your running back rotation, is it just a feel thing? How do you decide who goes when?
Well, seeing as how there's two of them, it's pretty much which one's fresh. So whichever one's fresh, whichever one needs to get in there and play, needs to get in there and play. It's tough to play with one. You look at our game against last year against Baylor, there was 4 guys that took a bunch of carries. So right now we feel good about 2. That's where we're at. We'll keep working younger guys and come up with other ways of being able to get other people involved.
After those back-to-back losses, Dana, does Skylar seem, I guess, from a mental standpoint, seem to be doing all right, or I guess from your vantage point, does his confidence seem to be kind of shaken at all after doing so well those first 3 games to lose back-to-back times?
Oh, you got to be mentally tough, and nobody. You guys can if you want, but nobody's placing the last 2 losses on the shoulders of one person. That's. I mean, put them on mine if you want to, but it doesn't need to be on his. His job's to play. His job's to prepare. His job's to come to work every day, which he does, and watch video and get out there and play his butt off. And I know he'll do that this week.
Your praise for Billings, one of the best players in the country, is probably rare to be placed upon a nose guard too. The reason though, what is it about him? And you didn't even mention Oakman, their defensive line is, I guess, the anchor of their defense.
He is. Ain't no doubt, dude's. He's just tough. He's a hard-nosed, tough, powerful football player that plays every snap. Has got good quickness off the ball, can bull rush you, can run around you, can get off blocks, make tackles when he's blocked. He's a good player.
Dana, during media days, Art Briles was pretty outspoken about the round robin scheduling and how every team has a memory. And he specifically said, last year's game, you guys had a memory of the previous year. Do you see that that's the case each year? Did you guys use that to your advantage last year in that win?
No, and I encourage them not to either. Of course it happens. Of course it happens. I'm sure Oklahoma State was pissed that we won the last 2 years. That's what's neat about the Big 12 is you do play everybody. And I'm sure, we watched last year's film from Baylor. I'm sure they watched last year's film as well. So, everybody knows what happened the previous year. And, whatever happens this Saturday, we'll probably use that the following year as well, just the way it works.
Dana, from the outside, Baylor's offense looks like it never changes, and they just run a few plays out of the wide receivers real wide. Do they do different things on tape, or is it sort of simple and they just do it really well?
Yeah, it's not overly complicated. I don't think ours is overly complicated as well, but you know how they're going to kind of line up. They got a few new wrinkles, obviously, as everybody does, but they're gonna run it right at you and say stop it, and they're going to do it very fast. I mean, incredibly fast. Their up tempo is as fast as anybody's is. And then they're going to run the quarterback at times. And then when they look for matchups and they get them, they're going to try to exploit you. So nobody does it better than them.
In football, then, offenses take advantage and then defenses catch up with them. Why has Baylor gone so long without being caught up with, especially since it's simple and just?
Well, it's a good question. They believe in what they do and they just keep doing it. And when you're at a place for a long time and things continue to get better and your recruiting continues to get better and you do it the same thing over and over again with better players, typically works out pretty good for you. And they've obviously hit on some guys as well. So they got real good stability. They got real good commitment from the administration, and they continue to get better. I commend them.
A pretty good offensive coach retiring down in South Carolina today. This fun gun got rolling in Florida. I guess you were high school, college age. Do you remember anything about that?
I don't. I don't remember a whole lot. He's one of the unique characters in college football. I'm sure he'll still probably be around.